Welcome to Quest for Peace, a podcast that explores how we can journey towards inner tranquility in the midst of a chaotic world. In an era filled with uncertainty, conflicts, and global challenges, our quest for peace becomes more vital than ever. Together, let's discover how we can create more peace within ourselves, and by doing so, how we can contribute to a more peaceful world. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Quest for Peace. I am Saju, and I am your host. So, actually, I started this podcast in January of this year, and I really wanted to talk about peace and how we can get peace, because as you look around, there is a big lack of that. Um, so I decided that this would be a good platform to talk about how we can bring this peace into our lives without having to change the outer circumstances. How do we bring that peace inside of us? So I decided to invite all my friends and all my coaches who has helped me in the past to bring me to where I am today. I'm still working on myself. There's still a lot of work that all of us have to do, but I thought this would be a very good platform. So today's guest that I've invited is also one of my coaches in the past and a very good friend. She's an intuitive transformational life strategist. She partners with others, offering a safe, sacred space, intuitive guidance, and the skills and tools she has gathered over a lifelong journey of reclaiming wholeness. She is an artist and poet who has over 25 years of experience as an anchor and mentor. As an empathic, intuitive healer and meditation teacher, she has a gift of tapping others into the intelligence of their soul as a guide to greater presence and self-empowerment. Please help me welcome Annine Massaro. Hey, Annine.
Hey, Saju. Yeah, thank you. What a pleasure and an honor it is to be here with you today. I
Thank you,
thank you so
Annine.
much. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So, Annine, you and I have worked together many years. You started helping me when I had first got my divorce, and I was going through a really difficult time, and I was a completely different person at that time as I am now. And you helped me through that process. And it was amazing. And I would love to hear from you how you started this work. Why did you start all this work that you do?
Yes. Well, the work really started at a very young age, and it was a process of unfolding and discovery. So there was a lot of trauma that I experienced at a relatively young age and throughout my teenage years. And I put that to the side, as many of us do. And I got on with the business of living my life and went to school, went to college, got a law degree, started a career, and was moving things on with my life. And there was a trigger in my 40s. It was with the death of my father, and he represented a lot of safety in my world. And when that happened, there was a lot more information that started to come through for me and directed my focus into the work that I do today. I do a great deal of working with people in corporate environments, but people who have lived big lives, and then something happens, traumas happen or tragedies happen or marriages fall apart or things go at a place where life just happens, and it brings up, it's like a dark night of the soul. It's like, this is where I have to look at my foundation so that I can pull that energy in, that peace, recreate, like look at my foundation so that what I'm creating moving forward is going to last me until for the rest of my life, is really what it's about.
Yeah, so absolutely, and that's exactly how you helped me. And so, why do you do the work? You said because it help you help others? I know you started, the reason that you are in this work is because of what you've been through. But why did you decide on helping others?
Well, we don't. My beliefs, we do not heal in a vacuum. Healers' job is to heal themselves
Mm,
and then to create sacred space for others to heal themselves. We don't heal anyone. We just do our own work and we share our experiences. We share what has worked for us and we become an anchor for others and a guide, but we don't do
mm,
any of the healing. And that has been my experience. Um, and that is what, and the beautiful part, the even more beautiful is that there's so much synchronicity in doing this work because deeper and deeper and more subtle layers of healing occur for me on this journey. And that's why I love to do it. I'm passionate about it. It's what you said in the beginning, Saju, of we all have more work to do. I
mm.
am very much included in that. And
Yep.
this is part of what is part of that work is helping to guide others, sharing my experience with them and moving forward.
That's true because with my work, that's what I've seen. As I work with others, I heal myself, and as the saying goes, the teacher teaches what they need to learn, right? So as we go help others, we learn ourselves, and also if we're still alive, we still have a lot of work to do. If our work was done, we would have transitioned. So, and I tell that to my mother, Mom, you're here because you still have work to do. So, chill and let's keep working.
That's a beautiful thing, especially when you can get to the place where, and that's part of doing so the work, doing the inner work. A lot of times when we're young, we're looking, we're seeking. So we're gathering tools, we're gathering experiences, we're going out and living lives, and we still want to continue to do that. We just want to do that at a more peaceful level. We want to do that, because that's what the world needs, right? Quest for peace. That's what we really need. When we look outside, we see that a lot of people are not present in the now. They're either living a story that already ended years and years and years ago, right? Or they're projecting out into the future, something they want in the future. And the real gifts and the real power is becoming fully present in the moment and practicing that presence on a daily basis.
How would you get yourself in the present moment? That's a lot of work. I think that's the main thing that you work with everyone is, let's be right here, right now. But how do you? I know it's big, but is there anything for a person who's never done this or they don't understand?
There's a lot of tools to being present, right? And we all have moments of presence. We all have moments. If you watch a child, they are in the present moment all the time. Feelings come, feelings go. If they're allowed to be children, they are in the present moment all the time. And what happens when we're young and we don't get our experiences validated, or our feelings aren't allowed to be expressed, or things are, and it happens to us all, but we create the second self. We create this veneer. We create this other consciousness, this other persona, right? This personality. We hear so much today about people talking about imposter syndrome. Well, that comes from not from the little ones inside of us not paying attention to them, not going back and healing them, from the earliest stages of, from when we come through our mother's womb all the way up through our teen years. I mean, the brain doesn't fully develop until what are the scientists saying these days, 25? So there's a lot of things to take a look at. And if we look in the world, a lot of the, and my coach said this to me, which I love, Saju. She said, if the child is not addressed, right, the inner child, they become a terror. They can be like a terror. Terrorism is huge in the world, right? They become terrorists. They actually take over the life. A person is no longer present. They're triggered. They're in a constant state of living in the past, living for the glory of the past. We see it in some of the world leaders trying to reclaim their glory of an old empire, we see it. Or they're living out into this projected future that hasn't occurred yet. And their behaviors are all based in those two realms. Where if we live in the present moment, all of those things come to us. We know the decisions to make. We know the correct choices. Our intuition starts to really be healed, and there's more peace in that because we trust ourselves from the inside out. From the inside out, that's what brings the peace. And the practice, when you talk about practices, like what could people do? There's wonderful practices, right? The most simplest practice is breath, is breathing, just calming. It takes time to develop to come to the point where you can actually start to hear and witness your own internal dialogue. That's why it's so wonderful to have a coach, to have someone who says, hey, wait, where'd you go? You left. Where did you go? And somebody who can help you to see, help you to slow down enough to come back into presence and be able to speak and witness these different aspects of ourselves. See what they are calling us for. Why they keep showing up is because they need attention. They need attention. And when we pay attention, we don't necessarily we don't behave in the ways that have created a lot of the turmoil in the world today. But there's a lot of wounded people out there. So a lot of wounds. So yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I absolutely agree. And as you said, the healing of the inner child, it's a lot of work. First of all, understanding what is the wound, right? And then going after it to heal it. And a lot of us are living in the past, meaning that everything that we're triggered and everything that we do has something to do with the past. We blame our past, we blame our parents, we blame friends in the past that may have hurt us, and we still living there when that time has already passed and we're not here. um, Talk to me more about, I know you do a lot of work with inner child healing.
Well, a lot of times there's a lot of work that's done around around the inner child to actually be able to even get to the point where we can actually witness our own child. So a lot of times there's a lot of forgiveness work that needs to take place. There's a lot of journaling that needs to take place. There's a lot of catharsis that needs to take place because forgiveness is a very powerful healing tool. It's the most powerful tool on the planet right now, right? Forgiveness. And yes, forgiving others. However, the one we need to forgive the most, right, is ourselves because we've spent so much time um, perseverating on the past. Once we really start to come into more presence, then all that starts to come up like, oh my God, I wasted all this time in my life. No, it's about honoring the gift of what you had to go through to get to where you are today. So it's interesting. And when we talk about the inner child, so I am still uncovering and discovering aspects of myself. I have these different parts of me that I call on to partner with me in my co-create and co-create with me. It is the wise person who can call on the playful and childlike aspects of themselves to co-create with them. So that's part of the gifts of healing the child too. There's still I just recently tapped into a very traumatized part of my own inner child. And the interesting thing that she said, and this was I work with a therapist with this as well. She said, when asked by the therapist, she said, I don't care about what happened. I don't care about the story. I just want to play. The kid inside us doesn't care about the story. They just want us to be in charge, the adult us. They want us to see them, to pay attention, to do the work that needs to be done. If there's anger there, let's address the anger. If there's sadness there, let's address the sadness. If there's fear there, let's talk about the fear so we can walk through it. Or sometimes it's just a matter of saying what we're afraid of and then just doing it anyways, right? So there's a lot of it's not cookie cutter. Let me put it that way. It's not cookie cutter. And I'm still working on the tools that I use to come up with, some kind of, something like I use different tools with different people. But I guess what I'm I'm working on more is like, what are the ones that really seem to get the best results for people? And sometimes that's just, having a coach that is able to be super present is really what it's really all about, and can hear, not just with their ears, but hear with their heart, intuitively hear what the person is not saying, and be able to ask the questions that could facilitate something deeper occurring, a deeper change.
So let's talk about forgiveness, because when you said forgiveness, and I've had a lot of people tell me, well, I don't, how do I forgive something that someone has done that is so horrible? And a lot of people think when you forgive someone, you now become their friend again, or So I just wanted you to talk more about forgiveness to make it more clear what it means to forgive. What exactly is forgiveness?
Absolutely. Forgiveness is for the self. It is not about the other person. Uh, it's beautiful if we can extend that hand of forgiveness to another human being. But forgiveness, it doesn't require us going back into the same situation again. Really, forgiveness is to set ourselves free, because so say someone's hurt us in the past and we don't know what's happening in their life currently in the present moment. We don't know who they are. They might be a completely different person. They might be complete, or they may not be. Doesn't require that. I mean, we can explore that if we want to, but it certainly doesn't require it. And especially with some of the things that people do from a place of hurt and woundedness. There's some very obviously, we know there's a lot of evil things that happen in the world. That evil is real, right? So, but we all have to understand that that darkness exists. We have a choice between the dark and the light, and that some people are so wounded that, I'm not saying that they didn't have a choice, but I mean, and we can pray for those people. It doesn't mean that we're going to, actually have a relationship with them. But really, to hang on to anger just hurts the vessel that is holding the anger. It doesn't, your anger, my anger, our anger doesn't hurt the person that committed the offense. It hurts the person who's still hanging on to the anger, really. And it takes time. It's not easy. I mean, there is no right or wrong answers. There's no one way of doing it. And it is okay to forgive 50%, 60%, 70%, there's no perfect solution here. And we're all doing the best that we can do. What I know from my own experience and continuing to do forgiveness work myself is that as I do it, it creates space inside of me to embrace life uh, in an expanded way, in a more and more expanded way. Yes.
Um, my experience of forgiveness has, the saying that, "Oh, Lord, forgive them because they know not what they do." And I think that is so true, because the people who have hurt me, I started realizing that, well, they don't, it's their own triggers, it's their own issues that are causing them to react the way they are, or be the way they are. So you look at them and you say, okay, it's not anything, like, you're not taking it personally. You have to start understanding what they're coming from is their issue, and you will forgive them in that way. Okay, in my own mind, I will say, it's okay, it's not their fault, I forgive, but I will walk away. I'm not going to accept it. I will say, God bless you, and walk away. And I think that's what it really means to try and understand why people are the way they are towards you or towards anyone. It's because they really have not come to the point to understand, or they have not worked on themselves to know where this anger is coming out from. Something that triggers them is yeah.
That's very true, Saju. That's very true. And and there's a safety issue too, right? Depending on what the incident is. So there is no need for contact, even direct contact. It is something that the other person doesn't even need to know about. It really is a journey for the self. And when you said not taking things personal, that is huge. Also, it's not making any assumptions. And the interesting thing about it is that we could say that, like I could say, I'm not going to make any assumptions about the situation. I'm not going to make up a story, right? But we already have assumptions that are in us, in our body, culturally, socially, so we're constantly in need of examining the place from which we are speaking, thinking and speaking from. And why that's why the doing practice of presence, because then you begin to speak from the soul, right? From that place. And speaking comes from that place and not just from the collective mind, you know? So
Um, what about self-love, Anine? Can we talk about that? What exactly does self-love mean? A lot of people don't really understand. It's not going out and buying yourself flowers or chocolates or doing whatever, spending money on yourself. Not necessarily. That's not self-love. What is self-love?
well, there is a distinction to be made between self-care and self-love. And it's wonderful to go out and buy yourself flowers or it really and have, but self love has more to do with um, the practices that bring more presence into your life, whether it's a ritual like ritual. Our rituals can bring us into a place of more self love. Love is who we are. It's a discovery. It's a discovering and an uncovering. And like I said, as we clean out the storehouses of the things that never really belonged to us, but that made us who we are today, that gave us the wisdom as we grow, into our adulthood, that take the pieces of wisdom, the things that, there's always the shadow and the gold for things. So, and that's the thing. It's about understanding, acknowledging, recognizing the shadow so that we can live in the gold. So that we can live in the gold. And that kind of unfolds, right? Love is who we are. I think we gain a deeper and deeper understanding of that concept as we do the work, as we do the forgiveness work and as we do practices that create more space inside. That has been my experience, anyways, as I continue on the journey, and it's not even like I have to seek it out, right? Life is one of the laws of nature is the law of love. And the law of love is going to always bring us to the things that we need to do to commune more with God or spirit or source energy, however you like to call it. But that's one of the natural laws. All is in the one is in the all. So it's going to bring us back to that source. And our source is light and love.
Beautiful. So also the working on yourself is an act of self-love because you love yourself so much that you want to work on yourself. You want to clean up whatever might be going on inside of us so we can bring ourselves to that place of peace that we are trying to get to. That's self-love. Self-love is also maybe going to work out so our health is better or eat right. And, to me, these are the few things um, that says that I love myself enough that I'm going to take care of myself physically, emotionally, and in any way possible. To me, that's what self-love is.
I agree. And it's about being discerning, very discerning in our choices, giving ourselves the opportunity to um, be with, there's so many choices today. Our minds are so busy. Giving ourselves the time to slow down, to center into the body, to really go below, the diaphragm where the I lives in the body, right? The we lives above the diaphragm, the I lives below the diaphragm. So we need to get to the I. We need to start with ourselves first. We need to breathe into our bellies and make decisions from that solid foundation. And then bring our breath up into the upper areas of our body because that's where the we lives, right? The we lives there. But we need to feel safe, and we are in charge of our own safety. We really are. If we learn to develop our intuition, it will always tell us, it's always whispering, it's always saying, "Don't do that, do this, don't do that." If we're listening, and that's why we want to quiet the little children that haven't necessarily been right seen or healed or that need our attention. We don't want, they're always going to be there. We want to partner with them. We don't want their voices to be the loudest ones. We need more space for our intuitive voice, the intuitive voice to come through, which includes the playfulness of the child too, right? It includes all the aspects of ourselves as far as making decisions. So we end up having more adventures in life, and just being more joyful and less fearful, more willing to uh, um, follow our dreams, you know.
Yeah, I hear you. It's beautiful. Is there anything else you would like to share with us? Maybe an example of what a trauma that you might have through through the people that you're helping, and how you helped that particular trauma. I don't know, without letting anyone know who it is that you're talking about.
Sure, sure. There was I have worked with people of various ages and genders and many different people there. And really what it comes down to is I had a mother that I was working with whose daughter, who was 4 years old, was very traumatized. And I was working with the mother so that she could be the anchor for her daughter as her daughter grew up, so that she did not add her unresolved wounds to what her daughter had already experienced. So it was about working with her, and also how beautiful it was for her to be able to give her daughter what she needed. It was also part of the healing for her own little girl inside. So that's a lot of what happens too. There's a lot of mirroring that happens in the world for us. But like I said, we will always get what we need to heal what needs to be healed. We don't have to look very far. We just have to be willing to stay vulnerable and open, say yes. And yeah, so that was a very beautiful experience to work with a mother and daughter in that way.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And when you talked about mirroring, it reminded me about my own mirroring, that I realized um, I had an issue with someone who I felt was not respecting me, or I felt disrespected. And then I remembered that whenever somebody triggers you, it's usually a mirror to show you something is going on inside of you. So I started wondering and thinking, okay, what is going on here? Why do I feel disrespected? And finally, I realized after some work that I was disrespecting myself in certain ways. And so it was showing up in somebody else disrespecting me. And, and ever since I corrected that, I've had no issues with anybody disrespecting me. Isn't that amazing? And yet we blame the other. Oh, how could she, or how could he do this to me? And it's not them. It's just the universe showing you the mirror where you need to correct yourself or help yourself or change.
Absolutely. And that's why that it is. And that's another thing that the practice of presence uh, will facilitate. It facilitates that pause where you're not reacting to life. You're actually responding to life. It's a response and not a reaction, right? We need that reactive response. We need to react when there's dangerous situations or when they're right, because that's that survival brain. But that doesn't need to run the show. Most of us are not in a situation where we're we're fighting to survive. However, most of us are still feeding that part of our brain. That part of our brain needs to be honored. And right, this is part of the work of doing the work around trauma and wounding, is to honor that part of our brain and to honor the stories and to honor the things that have come up for us. But it's really about creating your life. You get to create your life. What you were talking about is you creating your life, right? So if you were going to continue to blame that other person, take the next path. Like, what are the next things that might have happened, right? You could have missed out on something great with that person, right? Or, you know what I mean? There's so many things. There's, I think the litmus test for presence is grace. When we begin to notice grace flowing into our life and more freely, That's when you know that you're living more in the present moment, because grace is all around you, happening all the time. Tiny, tiny little example I'll give, very minor. Um, I double booked one morning, right? Double booked, sat there, had a little chuckle about it. Within 10 minutes, I got a text from one of the clients who said, I can't make my appointment. Didn't even need to call. I didn't need to do anything, but just to be with it. I laughed, I noticed I double booked. I laughed about it, and then the universe took care of it. So the little graces and things like that. Um, Start paying attention to that. Those are the things, and then we cultivate that, right? Because what's the spiritual saying that we hear a lot of spiritual people expressing? What you're seeking is seeking you, right? So, you're right. It's true. All these things that have been said by masters over thousands of hundreds and hundreds of years, thousands of years more than likely, they are true. But the truth. Um, you can hear it, right? But it's like, is it in you? When you begin to live it, there's a distinction between hearing it, understanding it, and then actually living the truth. So that's the journey, is become that living truth. And that's why I get so excited, because I continue to do this work and I continue to live my truth, my truth. There's such freedom in that.
Just being in the flow of things, like you said, not reacting, just being in that flow, right? It's like when you're driving and you have somebody honking at you or driving away fast, and you kind of say, what, the old me would say, what the heck, X, 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 Y, and Z. And, and now I just say, oh, looks like they're in a rush. I hope everything's okay with them. I hope they get home safe, and it's so funny, everything just flows. And now when I need help to turn, and the cars will stop for me, if I have to make a right turn, so the people behind me will just, I said, wow, I guess what you give is what you receive. You give the grace, and you will receive that grace. It's always an exchange, and it's a beautiful way of living life. And that's how you can cultivate the peace, because if you are peace, there's will be peace around you.
It's true. If you've ever, I've been in a grocery store or at a park, and noticed small children gravitate towards you, like, you're living, like, they're looking at you, they're smiling, they're giggling, because they know you have partnered with the little ones inside you. They know that because they see it, they can see it, they can feel it, and they just want to, they want to play, right? Or smile. Or today, can be so challenging because there's so much fear, strangers and things like that. But there's nothing wrong with noticing that, and feeling good about that, feeling good about yourself with that.
Well, even animals, right? They're a good,
True.
yeah, they will come up to you. Yeah.
It's so true. It's so true.
Annine, you are also a beautiful poet. I've heard many of your poems you've read to me. Would you be so kind as to read us, share a poem with us here?
I would love to. And since I mentioned the mother-daughter relationship, I would love to read a poem I wrote when I was really deeply in touch uh, after a meditation with the voice inside of my little one, right? And it's called Earth Mamas. And I will read that for you. I thank you so much, Saju, for asking me. It's such an honor. Thank you.
And I've heard that poem. I think you've read it to me, and it touched my. It's beautiful, beautiful. Go for it. Thank you for reading that one. Yes.
Okay. Are you in love with you, Mama? In a world of illusory separation, the gift of my creation requires radical self-love, Mama, born of your commitment and time spent in contemplation, envisioning our relationship, reflections that I will share as I grow inside your womb, Mama. I am asking for unconditional and deep love for yourself, so that I may be in the presence and wrapped in the essence of this complete love. This true love will set me free to be me. Please start before I come into your womb. Before you embrace my seed, please pause. Think about your life with me and what it will be. Can you care for your needs and mine? Do you have the support that you desire? Are you receptive to the love present everywhere, Mama? I will need you to share this love, Mama. I will need consistent care and attention that carries with it an intention for a life full of authentic experience and masterful joy. Commitments that speak into all of me that I am worthy of rich, deep relationship with myself and others. A blanket of protection. Please look in the mirror, Mama. Look far in and see for you and for me. Ask the wind, Mama, ask the wind, and listen for the answers on the breeze and in the rustle of the trees. Feel your belly, Mama. Rub it and ask it, is it ready to be more than a physical home for me? What do you require, Mama? Look in the mirror again, where I'm waiting, and whisper the prayer you have for me. Thank you.
Oh, so touching and so beautiful. Thank you, Annine. It's great.
Thank you, Saju. Thank you.
So, Annine, I have one more question for you. What does a peaceful world look like to you?
A peaceful world looks like to me a place where we are all brothers and sisters, and where we are all free to express the love that we are with each other without fear, with joy. A place where all innocence is respected and embraced.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Annine, how do people get in touch with you if they want to work with you? And you are available, right, online? You are taking clients, or are you not?
You can find me online. I will give my email address here. It's just Annine at AnnineMassaro.com. That's the best way to reach me is via email. And I do have a few openings coming up in the fall, so I would I love meeting new people. And so I'm very.
Yeah, I just want everyone to know Annine is amazing. If you're starting your journey or wherever you may be at, and you need someone to talk to and help you, she has been an amazing guide for me. And then we worked for a couple of years, I think, and then became very good friends. So we will put the email link. How about you were working on poem books from what I remember. Are you still working on
I
that?
am, yes. I am on Medium. I am practicing on Medium, and so I am working on gathering, and I have like 3 or 4 books, all like projects. So it's just a matter. I'm the consummate artist. So sometimes I need to reach out and actually have someone help me out with actually that other aspect of it, of perhaps getting my work out there a little bit more. But I'm satisfied with the way things are right now. So, but I
Wonderful.
appreciate that. Thank you, Saju.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you so much for coming on my podcast and imparting your wisdom with all of us. It's really amazing. And we hopefully will do this again in the future. Quest for Peace, a podcast about navigating outer chaos with inner harmony. Whether you're seeking solace in the midst of life's challenges or simply curious about the profound connection between inner and outer peace, the Quest for Peace podcast is your guide on this transformative expedition.